when you compare your sin to murder, when you say the sex act is a sin comparable to murder, and it's like, yes, it's a heavy act. Yes, I get that. It's a life-creating act, but A, it doesn't create life every single time, and B, most of the time, those life-giving acts are acts of joy. I would say most of the time, it would be like a feeling of joy. Like it's an act that has a high likelihood of leading to joy. Like it's like, oh, from an unmarried couple, but what if the couple's really happy together, and what if they actually do want a baby? Like that, I don't feel like would be comparable to murder. You know, I don't know how often murder leads to a feelings of joy. I would say rarely would murder lead to an overall feeling of joy, but I would say that this other carnal sin would lead to joy a lot of times in society. So focusing on that is like your number one like thing is weird on a society level, and maybe there's something to do, you know, spiritually in yourself. It is a heavy act. Well, it's good to recognize it, and I think a lot of people don't recognize it, and it's just like it's become a problem. It's becoming a problem. It's a hygiene issue for society. It's also like an issue of, well, I mean, you are kind of a carnal being, not wanting the responsibility of raising children, and you're creating children. And what's happening to all those kids? They're growing up to be adults who are having some problems. Like, if you're going to do the act to create children, you need to be raising those children correctly, like appropriately, in some way that's helping them to be happier as adults, you know, just basic decency. If we could teach people how to be basically decent, I guess, I don't know if that's a taught thing or if that's like a genetic thing or what that is. It might be a genetic thing, and we just have so many people that our bodies are like, yeah, we're needing to not be as prolific, and so people are losing their sense of I don't know, what do they call it in the last days, their love shall wax cold, and people will lack that natural love one to another or something like that. It says some of that in there in the Bible. Maybe that's why. It's because genetically. And how often do people actually overcome their biological proddings, you know, their genetics? How often do they actually fight to not become addicted to something that they're just genetically kind of predisposition for, or like, I guess that happens a bit. People fight their battles, but sometimes it's hard to recognize what our battles even are to fight, you know? So it's fighting it, your natural biological urges and drives. I don't know. I just don't see people doing it that often. And so it would be easy to see if it's just genetically, like people's love will wax cold for one another, because that could be genetic. I could just be making up an entire story of the way things are, and it might not actually be true. It's just a story. We can see, I can tell these stories to my kids, and if they take it in the spirit of this is absolute truth and not me just rambling and just like postulating and hypothesizing and theorizing and stuff, right, then it can, so try to, because you do come to further understandings the more you kind of just talk around subjects. But are you just understanding the story in a different way? But if the story makes sense to what's actually going on, but what if the story is what's making it go on? I think that stuff comes from Don Juan.